Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Kerrigan.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. Here we are again. Witch Talk. Yes, it's us. Welcome again to Witch Talk. My name is Kerrigan, and today this is a very special day because we have an amazing author with us. Truly, I do believe that it's one of my favorites. It's not, if not my favorite author, and it's amazing because he actually followed us through all of this path, including the path of Blog Talk Radio. So it's really very special for me to have him here. Now, before we go there and before we say anything else, let me tell you how you can contact us on Witch Talk. Here we go. So, you want to know how to keep in touch with everything Witch Talk? Go to www.witchtalkshow.com and follow all the latest news. Listen directly to the show and enjoy it. Don't forget that all episodes of Witch Talk will be available to you on demand on Ustream. Click on Twitter, Facebook, or Google Plus on our own Ustream page and spread the word. Don't forget to join us on Ustream Crowd. Go to www.ustream.tv/channel/witchtalk-show. Do you want to be part of the show? Join our incredible conversations live on every show right here on Witch Talk. Witch Talk will air every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or approximately 9 p.m. in most Europe. Now, live in video, watch us on Ustream. Follow us on Twitter at Kerrigan, Kharagan, with an H after the K, or send us an email at witchtalkshow@gmail.com. Now, back to the show. And back to the show it is. Here we are again with Witch Talk, and I have a few things that I have to tell you. One of the things that I have to tell you is that I have we have a Facebook page, like you don't know, and you can just go there and listen to us. By now, I repeated this, I don't know, maybe 50 times or 150, I don't know. But anyway, so I have to tell you also that I have my blog, Beneficum, which is thoughts and opinions about traditional Wicca. If you want to join, you just have to tell me, because it's a private blog. So if you wanted to do that, just send me an email either by Witch Talk or page or by my Facebook page, and I will add you in. The blog is all completely in Portuguese, so I guess that if you're a Spanish speaker, you can also read it and understand it, because you know, I've heard people that, you know, can actually, and they are there, so I think that you can actually understand. So that's basically it. Now, let's not lose any time, and let's introduce our guest like he had to be introduced, but you know, it's part of the show, so here we go. Mark Smith is a writer and a practitioner of traditional witchcraft. Through his entire life, he has been a dedicated student of the goddess of witchcraft, Hecate. Primal Craft is the foundation through which he is able to assist others who wish to walk the path of the Dark Queen. Though he was at that time unaware of her true identity, his connection to the witch flame goddess goes far back as he can remember. There were others who came with Hecate during those infant years, but they remained in the background at that time. It is with the Queen of Hell that he has always had the strongest connection. This was the beginning of his true reawakening, in this incarnation at least. As he grew and his horizon expanded, so too did his practice of the ancient craft. There were obviously times when this focus would shift, as required, to various aspects of the mundane life, Such is the necessary balance of the incarnated form. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for the third time on Witch Talk, the author of the third volume of the books of the Trident of Witchcraft, the Scorpion God, the Forbidden Wisdom of Belial, Mark Allen Smith. Wow. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Hello, Carrigan. I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. This is amazing. I just love
Excellent.
to have you here. It's amazing. Now, first of all, I just wanted to tell you something. I don't know if people can hear Mark, but obviously they can. But Mark just have a new microphone, and we can finally have the pleasure to hear his voice in the most ultimate quality ever. So it's I'm very excited about it.
It's especially for you and the people that have come to listen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, Mark, tell me everything about what you have done all of this time since the last time we saw each other and we talked to each other.
Well, since the last time we spoke, I have been working very, very hard on this third book, which, as you know, is Belial's book. It's the Scorpion God, Forbidden Wisdom of Belial. Now, the last time we spoke, the book was written in both its initial form, because obviously I write everything longhand. I actually write it to paper so that I can weave the power in that's brought through me, as I write obviously with the conscious mind, but I write very much in possession, especially with the invocations and the evocations, and then I transfer it to electronic format so it can be edited, and I keep the initial draft. So that was all done the last time we spoke, but then there was so much with putting the book together and making sure that everything was right, and that the images of the many sigils, there's almost 300 seals, glyphs and sigils within the book, were to the highest resolution that they could be, and ensuring that the binding of the book, because this is the first book coming from Primal Craft, is up to a high enough standard to set the precedent. And of course, interwoven with all of that is my own path and the further work that's going to be brought out over the next few years, that comes through the gateways which this third book leaves open at the end of it. In short, Carrigan, since we last spoke, it's been pretty much non-stop and a very, very enjoyable but very, very busy time. And I must confess, obviously being only incarnate of flesh, that just before Christmas I actually did quite hit exhaustion, and I needed 10 days of just being shut down and just doing really nothing over that 10-day period before I could get back up, and then back to the Forest Temple and back to the completion with the printing company of this third book.
Now, this book is absolutely amazing. I do have the book here with me, just for people to know. It's just, and they can see it. It's just absolutely amazing. It's really, comparing to the other books, it's a very, it's thicker. It has more material in it. You have the artwork. It's just absolutely amazing. Just the artwork, it's beautiful, and the images are absolutely amazing. And I have a little something here to show to people. It's just this wonderful thing that you have on your blog, Primal Craft. It's one of the draws from the book, from Namtaru Creations, and it's just an amazing drawing, and it's just beautiful, and it's in the book. So it's just I don't know if you're seeing it, but it's beautiful. It's really, really nice, and I can't find it in the book right now. I'm kind of like desperately.
The 6 Towers of Belial, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's it.
Yes,
exactly.
it is.
I just found it.
Yeah, you've got it? Okay, I was just going through the pages that help you.
Found
it. Yeah.
Yes, and it was made by Namtaru, right?
It's a lady called Irene Dominguez Marquez, who is she is Namtaru of Namtaru Creations. She's a Spanish lady, and she has her own art company, She's worked on all 3 books with me. I met her through Anina Ingman of Ixaxar, and I think they both deserve a mention at this stage, because obviously Anina aided me in getting the first 2 books out. We published them together, and Irene Namtaru has been with me through all 3 books, which is working with me so closely. I'm going to confess now, with 3 books is enough to give somebody a very high psychiatrist's bill. Okay, it must be very stressful. Those girls need a break.
Well, it's really, really well. First of all, the book is you know, I think to tell you the truth, and I think that this is also your own experience doing these books, and for people that are listening to us that follow you and your work, it's that these books are not just books; they're experiences.
No.
So you know what I mean. So when you open the book, you know, and it's good to tell people that you do consecrate each book.
Every single book individually is consecrated.
Yes.
They're not consecrated as a block, as a pile of books on the floor. Well, they are initially, but then every single book is individually consecrated, and it takes a bit of time. And it takes the 999 standard editions, the silk-bound ones. It was taking me between 5 and 7 days to consecrate each book, and that was with Anina, who was actually stacking the books behind me and assisting me at the time. So it's a long process, but it's worth doing to have each book individually awoken and empowered. And you and I both know, and a lot of the listeners will know, that if you pick up a book that has not been consecrated, it doesn't matter how powerful the Gnosis that it has within it, you can feel the difference. And the difference between not everyone wants to consecrate their books. Books have different purposes, you know. Some are just formula text, but these books are not their gateways. And so the difference between a book that's not consecrated and a book that is the difference between something that's like a dead house brick and something that is a live gateway.
Yes,
and that's why I take the time to do each one individually.
It's absolutely amazing, because you can feel it. You can feel it in your hands. So this is the book. It's an absolutely beautiful book. Now let's talk about this and the content. Now this is the 3rd book in the trilogy. It's the 3rd book in the Trident of Witchcraft, Forbidden Wisdom of Belial, the Scorpion God. Now the first question that people asked me about this book was, there's a lot of Atlantean. There's Atlantean. You know, there's this Atlantean thing. What are we talking about? Are we talking about? And this is, you know, it might be a very simple question, but or idiotic, but it's
not at all.
Are we talking about the island that was swallowed? And if so, what happened to the island? Because we want to know.
Okay, let's go. Bear with me.
What is it? Yes, go ahead.
The Atlantean was, if you imagine the Egyptian dynasties, then they would be what were the remnants, or the people that taught the Gnosis. And if you imagine how powerful the Egyptian stuff is, and I'm not knocking anything at all here, Egyptian magic is very powerful. That is the fragmented remnants of the power that the Atlantean priests and the Atlantean people had. Atlantis was the first realm of man. It was the beginning, and the people that were incarnate, their souls that were incarnate, the universe itself, the actual human soul, based upon the structure of the universe, although the perhaps position of the planets does not change much, was based upon the body of Hecate, which is more of a spider's web formation, okay, which where you get references to it to the spider goddess, although there is references to Hecate's daughter Sephiroth within that, who was queen of the Atlantean realm. But keeping it simple, the Atlantean realm being the first era of the very first race of man, and they had a very powerful soul structure, i.e. there was no abyss per se that they needed to cross. So the power that they had was governed by the Atlantean gods. Now these gods are sealed from the realm of man because of the failure of the first race, and the failure of the first race is what gave birth to the legends of the fall. As such, power in such measure granted in unlimited measure, more or less, by the Atlantean gods corrupted the first race, and so you had a spiritually superior race, the most spiritually powerful race of man that there has been to date in this world's timeline. And the power that they had corrupted the soul, and they took let's say a blacker path, descending into something that was many acts, although there are acts of honor where sacrifice is given. There were many unnecessary killings. It sped into bloodshed. Basically, the race fell into corruption within itself. Now, the gods of that realm allowed this. They allowed too much power, and they aren't gods that people have too much contact with these days. So, the gods themselves were sealed within the Atlantean realm at the fall of Atlantis. The fall of Atlantis was initiated by 7 incarnate watchers, which is again where the legends of the 7 come from, the legends of the 7 powerful stars. The stellar currents earthed from the primal goddess, Hecate, or some people will go further back and see her as the primordial source of all creation, the first dragon of the void. That is Hecate, are what put an end to the majority of the Atlantean race, because they put the world soul, and when I say the world soul, I don't mean the God being as such. I mean the actual collective consciousness and the collective soul that we're all connected to, or that all incarnate people are connected to. They put it out of balance, much like it's out of balance now, but for a different reason. Now it's greed and power. Then it was spiritual power and bloodshed, and so they were destroyed, which is where you get your legends of the flood and legends of the fall as such. The fall of the Atlantean race, and also the fall of their gods, because their gods, these were primal beings. And it's interesting with the Atlantean gods, because when we talk about magic and we talk about witchcraft and we talk about the fall, and you can see where the legends of I know the Bible took a lot of this stuff from Babylonia and Sumeria, we know this, okay, and history's been rewritten many times. So what we have is fragmented. The first fragments perhaps came around the time of the original Egyptian dynasties, the very first ones, where you've got this power, you've got this energy, you've got still some of what Grant would call the starry wisdom, so what some people would call the stellar law. And with the Alexandrian libraries and various other things, we've lost a lot of that, and so, which is why you'll find a lot of the stellar stuff within these trilogies, because the only way to bring it back is through the inner planes. But I digress. So let's look at the Atlantean gods. What people don't address when they're looking at magic, and it's an interesting question, is, okay, so before man, you had gigantic reptiles. You had these. No one wants to talk. We talk about magic and we talk about witchcraft. No one actually addresses who governed the dinosaurs. They are your Atlantean gods. In the scheme of things, man, even the Atlantean race, has only been here for a very, very short time, Carrigan. There were beings that were put forth on the planet. There were beings that incarnated, that came through spiritually, that came through physically, that became part of evolution. The gods that ruled over them were the Atlantean gods, and the Atlantean gods give extreme power. It's a cliche, but it's very true. The power that they give can make you, or it can break you, when you tap into them and you tap into their realm, because the Atlantean realm as such is sealed. It's the structure of the Atlantean universe, and when I say the Atlantean universe, I'm talking about the entire universal inner planes of Atlantis, is sealed from the realm of man. That is the spider structure. What you have is something equating to the tree of life and the tree of death, which is based more upon the body of Lucifer as the supporting god of the universe of man, and the abyss placed in, so that unlimited power does not flow. It has to be worked for, and it's spiritual evolution. Through the process of evolution, the individual will cross the abyss and will then go to meet Godhead, and will go to higher power through whichever path they take, beyond the abyss and beyond the higher powers and beyond what I would call Thaumiel, which is the throne of Lucifer, or the crown of Lucifer as the ruling and supporting body of the life force of this universe. You are given the keys to then enter the Atlantean inner planes. Okay, the Atlantean universe, the set system through which you may enter it, can be touched upon by certain grimoires and certain books that are laid across the top of other grimoires using their systems will open doorways, and people glimpse these entities. Now, they are formless, dark, unlimited power. They can take the form of anything they wish, but their natural form is almost amorphous or tentacled, if you like. They are the blood and guts of gods, and they are the very intelligent and extremely powerful entities that ruled over this earth during the time of the dinosaurs and during the rule of the first race of man. They are not suited per se to rule over the universe and the world of man. So that's a little description of sort of the very first history of the planet, leading into the Atlantean times, leading into what was and still is singularly the greatest spiritual and most spiritually powerful race of man that fell into corruption, where from the legends of the flood and the legends of the fall, through the cataclysmic destruction, because the destruction was very violent, it was tectonic shifts, it was walls of water, extreme climate change, which reduced the race and left enough to carry fragments. Unfortunately, man, ourselves, we've done an awful lot of damage with our false faiths and our false religions, or even our genuine faiths, where man has screwed down the hatches and turned off the power taps to control his fellow man, and thus becomes an organized religion. And burning of libraries, Alexander's being one, and and the many things that have happened that are accurately, or as much as can be recorded in history. Hence this work, bringing it back through the inner planes. That's the Atlantean current, and it's very, very important now, because we have just entered a new aeon, the aeon of the Lightbearer, of Lucifer, which is the preparation for the weighing and the balancing of the world soul, which is drastically out of balance, with power, with greed, with corruption, with the destruction of the planet. I'm not going to speak about poisoning and peak oil. That there are enough people speaking about that, but they're not wrong, and all these other things, and man controlling and ruling his fellow man. I mean, it's almost like a spiritual prison. True spiritual power can be accessed, I would say, by anyone. Obviously, there are the chosen few who work hard, who've gone through lifetimes, who have walked this path to bring this knowledge. But the others that follow, people can tap this, people can be given this, which is the purpose of bringing this forward. And this sort of knowledge is not the sort of knowledge that the higher echelons of organized religion and perhaps even government want people to have, because the more people that are awakened and the more people that have this power, the more change can be created. And so the more an age of freedom can be entered. The Atlantean current itself is being returned one way or another. The Atlantean current will be returned in full, Carrigan, but it may be at the hands of the gods, which will need to bring the world soul back into balance, and we're looking at about 3.5 centuries time, just under that. Ironically, these things are decided and weighed outside the universe in the chaos, where there is no time per se, but within the universe of man we still have the time to make adjustments. If we don't, then what you see now with the political unrest, what you see now with the climatic changes and the odd tsunami and the tectonic shifts and the earthquakes, normally with the change of an aeon these things settle. They're not going to settle until the world soul is brought back into balance, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So these things are going to be increased, which leads towards the reduction of the numbers of man again. As all this is happening, the Atlantean current is being increased. The purpose of bringing back this current, double-edged though it is, because of its vast power and ability to corrupt, it has the ability to initiate the spiritual evolution, the next leap in the soul path of man as such.
I wanted to ask you that, because I think that it's important, because there is so many people talking about the end of the world in 2012, and you're just talking about, shifts and tectonic shifts and,
very
shifts
much so.
And everything. So you're saying that this is the guilty part here is human race, obviously, and the guilty part
very
here
much
is
so.
It's man, and the greed of man, and the ego of man, and
it's the ego, it's the greed, it's the destruction.
So is it going to end?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes, it is. But how can I say this? Well, in my normal blunt fashion. The age of freedom and the age of spiritual equality will come, okay? But it may well be heralded in blood. Now, when I say that, I'm referring to, let's look very briefly at the Mayans. I'm not going to knock anything as great as the Mayans. Who am I to do that? What they picked up on was correct, but it is not the end of the world. They picked up on the changing of the aeon, but it has such a powerful vibration because it is not just the changing of the aeon. It is not the new aeon is now the aeon of the age of Lucifer, the age of the Lightbearer under the dominion and will of Hecate. It's when Lucifer as the Lightbringer steps forward again to show who he truly is, to bring forth and illuminate the knowledge that allows man to go forward and allows man to help to work with the gods to initiate the spiritual leap. But look at the governments, look at the system, look at what we've got out there. With this age is not an age of freedom. We've lost in many of our cults, and I use the word openly, the power of initiation. So now, as was pointed out to me by a gentleman, I'll only give his first name, called Edward. He's from the United States of America, who did a paper on this, where the youth of today and the young people with the violence and with gangs and things like that, well, that's their initiation. Well, we've lost our tribal initiation. It's been taken from us, unless you are a follower of one of the witch cults or this sort of thing. And we very much lost our freedom. Sacrifice is something that you could touch upon. People say, oh, well, you know, in days gone by, human sacrifice was practiced, but it was an honor to give oneself over at the time of passing, when one was very old, to pass the power on. In certain cults, Hecate, men were sacrificed. Men would perform ritual castration on certain nights of power to Hecate. So we can't say that we can hide from these things just because of a new age that perhaps tries to cover and gloss over it. These things are gone, yet soldiers and human beings are sacrificed without spiritual honor or rite of passage every day in the name of money. And so yes, man is very much to blame. Something called the Gate of Souls, in which the world soul itself, the actual living world, the flesh, the dragon, what people class as the ley lines, I would call the dragon lines, I would call the veins and the arteries and the lines of power of the dragon itself, that being Belial, the first lord and first prince of this earth. Okay, under Lucifer as Lord of the Universe, and under Hecate, who is the dark goddess. Some people would correlate with Kali, some people with Tiamat, primordial source of all creation and first dragon of the void, not just the universes. So the world itself is being destroyed and it's being poisoned. The world's soul completely out of balance because the majority are shut down. For all of us that are doing this work, the majority of people are shut down. We can't really march on government. I hear a lot of people talk about revolution, and I'm going to be very blunt now. There are a lot of armchair revolutionaries out there, okay, busy counting their bank balances and preaching this stuff while not actually standing on the front lines. I don't think I've even seen any of them in Wall Street occupying it as such, but they're happy to encourage everyone else to do it. I don't believe in doing that. I don't believe in speaking forward. The only way I believe to do it is to open, to work with the gods and to open the seals and these gateways that are given, and there's not going to be a quiet solution to this. The fate of man outside the universe of man has already been decided. In 300 and from this year 45 years, give or take a year from now, if the world soul is not brought back into balance, then throughout the next 3.5 centuries you're going to see it anyway. In our lifetimes you're going to see the tsunamis will increase, the quakes will increase. They are on the increase and they will increase. Okay, Tokyo will be hit by another quake. The coast of Spain will be hit by a tidal wave. I can't give you a time scale on that. I live on the coast here. I know where some things are going to happen, but not when they're going to happen. But I can tell you now, Tokyo will be hit by another quake, a hard one. The coast of Spain will be hit by a tsunami, and that will cost a few thousand lives. These are the little things. There are much bigger things that are going to rise. Another volcano will rise, okay, and we're looking South Pacific, I believe, for that, and it will actually rise up. The time scale, again, I don't have, but you will see a lot of activity within our lifetime, and it is the increase and the increase and the increase, and unless it's brought back into balance, then you will see the massive reduction of numbers of the human race to bring it back into balance. Now
tell me one thing. There is a question here in the chat room.
Yes.
Should we try to stop it, and how can we do it?
If you're talking about the cataclysmic events, no. I don't believe we should, but I'm not here to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Your belief and your, if you want to appeal to the gods, then that's up to you. That's not for me. as Hekate's email and the post room delivery boy to tell you not to do that. Your choice. Above all, I believe in freedom and spiritual freedom. Otherwise, I speak as a hypocrite, and that I'm not. What I'm doing is I work with the gods, and I work to bring forth what you would call what was initiated. The Grail of the Princes was initiated on the 13th of January this year. It is the formation of the Grail of the Demon Princes. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it is through which, metaphorically, or on the inner planes, literally, the blood of the witch gods is poured. It opens the seals of what the Christians would call the four horsemen. Okay, these are the elemental reflections of the demon princes who stand at the four corners of this world and the four corners of the universe. If man steps forward to work with the gods, basically you're either on one side, which is the side of the greed and the murder of people over money and oil and things like that, or you're on the other side, which is the side of gods that love us so much but will not stand there while we destroy this planet, or you're in the middle doing nothing. So to work, to petition the gods, to call forth, it's a very dramatic expression, so let's call them the demon princes, but what are essentially the elemental reflections of the four horsemen. To call them forth and to ask for this and to bring it forth is what some people would call triggering an apocalypse. It is not the end. It is actually asking for more lives to be spared than are to be destroyed. To sit and do nothing, then you leave it to beings that man has lost belief, let alone hope in, doesn't acknowledge they exist because he's now in space programs, and once more he's built his tower so high it's about to get smashed by lightning. Man believes once again that he's higher than beings just because he can't see them. Carrigan, I can't see an atom, but I know it exists, as do you. But this is the rule of man, and these beings will bring man back into line and remind us just exactly how small we are. But it will be at the 11th hour. In the meantime, we are watched, we are worked with, we are communed with, those of us that do it, but we are destroying our planet, and many of us are awakening now, but many more are still doing nothing. So the advice I would say is, I can't say to this person, no, you should work with the gods and call forth the apocalypse and bring forth this destruction, and I can't say, no, you should try and work against them. What I would say is to do what I have always tried to encourage people to do and try to give people the gateways to do through my books, is to seek, if it's someone like Master Nestor, he already has this, okay, the guy's very experienced, but I don't know where the question comes from, is to seek direct contact and to speak to the gods, okay, the actual entities, whoever you follow, whether you follow Lucifer, if you follow Marduk, if you follow, then they all talk and ask what they say to you. And if they turn around in your direct communication and say, okay, you know that this guy's completely right, it's glad that you've come through this evocation, through this possession to talk to me, now that you're here, I have this task for you. Fantastic. If they speak to you and say, you know, totally ignore this guy, he should stay on his meds, fine, but speak to the gods themselves, and in your free will and in your freedom through your path, seek the answers that way.
Very good.
That would be my answer, because then that's freedom and it's free will. Then I'm not stood on a podium like I'm going to have a pop with them Catholic minister telling you how it is. I'm telling you my truth, I'm telling you my experience, and I'm telling you my direct communication with deity. Not enough of us speak to deity. We're still too involved in, and in all fairness, we need this as well, but we're still too involved in our own path, in learning our own path. And people like Master Nestor, people that come here to speak with you, and you know, a great many experienced people know that this is not witchcraft and it's not magic inside a bubble, because when this earth gets poisoned, and when that next wave hits, or when the next tectonic plate shifts, then it can burst that bubble very easily. So for me personally, I've had a few, given the ritual of the Grail of the Princes, there were a lot of questions. It was this very much the same for me when I was given an energy called the Way of Sacrifice, and I'm not going to go too into it now, but I am I follow my path. This craft is very primal. I'm a big animal lover. I understand the way of sacrifice. I understand the honor in it. I understand that the Native American Indians followed it. The Egyptians followed it. Various other people. When it was given to me, it was given to me by Hecate, quite simply because that is my greatest love. And to be given it, although I love Belial, I love Lucifer, I love Sephiroth, to be given it by one of the, let's say, on paper, harsher entities, although I would say Hecate could be blacker than any of them coming first, I would not have accepted it. I would have fought all the way. Hecate gave it to me, and my initial reaction was, give this to someone else. To which I was given, this is a great honor, it's a great power, you're going to bring this forward, you're going to open this. And I said, I don't want it. Give it to someone who wants it. And the answer was, because you don't want it, that you have to have it. The Grail of the Princes and the rituals to initiate these things were very much the same. And you know, please bear in mind that this is not any kind of egotistical trip. I've served in Northern Ireland. Okay, there's an argument on both sides there, and I acknowledge both sides. I served in Kosovo during Operation Agricola, which was the actual war when it was still a war zone. And I ended up with Albanian friends and Serbian friends. Okay, as well as the American and French and the German soldiers and the various other parties and the Russians that were there to assist us. But there was an awful lot of smashed humanity and terrible black things and events that took place there. So given something like the Grail of the Princes to initiate, to be one of the people that initiate this, was not something that was taken lightly. And perhaps you could say that there was a lot of soul searching, and the odd, I can't believe I'm going to say this, the odd misty eye. Okay, there are a few tears, because I know what smashed humanity looks like, and it's something like Kosovo, and I'm not belittling it, compared to something that's going to happen in the next 3.5 centuries if we don't sort our act out. It's a drop in the Pacific Ocean by comparison. So to be given something that's small.
Yeah.
Please
go
continue.
ahead. Sorry.
No, after you.
Master Nestor said, Rome fell, and everything has fallen when it goes out of control, and this will be the same, very much the same thing, but on a much wider scale. And then he says to you, I really have to, you have to say this to I completely, he says, I'm totally on the same wavelength. I just have different names for the same thing. And he says to tell you that. So
thank you, Master Nestor. There are a lot of people out there that are getting this gnosis, that have this viewpoint, and that link into this, and we are together the people that are awakening others, but also working proactively.
Yes.
Albeit, like I said, the age of freedom will come, and it's a quote from the Scorpion God. It will be heralded upon the footsteps of the horseman, and the age of freedom will be heralded, by blood, but it will come. And such is the evolution of the planet. It is not going to come quietly, because we have allowed ourselves to be put in the position where it can't be. And so this is the purpose of these books and bringing this forward. The books themselves, the Trident trilogy, obviously people know of Queen of Hell and the Red King. The Scorpion God is the path into the Atlantean realm. It is the path which obtains the 7 keys to open the Atlantean realm and transforms the soul itself into the 8th key, the key of Lucifer, or the sword of Lucifer, which will open this, and within that realm it opens something that is beyond the tree of life and the tree of death. And this is a pathway, an ancient pathway, that leads between what you would call Eden and Edom. So if Eden is the throne of Hecate beyond the universe of man, where the final evolution of the soul is, or the greater power is, then Edom would be the Atlantean race. You could call it hell. I have different definitions of such. I would class also the darkness and the void as hell, and also the infernal Empyrean currents, the infernal currents that we work with, or some of us work with a lot, as hell. The Atlantean realm, there is nothing friendly in there. It is sharp, it is tentacled, it is black. It will take the most vile, and the gods in that realm, when the soul enters it, will take the vilest, most disgusting things from the depths of your mind and your soul, and they will turn them into your greatest pleasure. So for those that wish to venture into that realm, understand that these are the tests, and these, to obtain such a power, there is no denial in the Atlantean realm. They will take the vilest, most disgusting human acts and turn it into your greatest pleasure, and you will face that. It's how you walk through that, if you make it through, with all of the tests. And these tests can be reflected through into the material plane, as many spiritual tests, or all proper spiritual tests are. Excuse me. So that they manifest in different ways. To walk through these tests uncorrupted, I would not say untainted, but the taint can be washed away by further work. Uncorrupted is to succeed through the different realms of the different gods in the Atlantean realm. It must be approached through the correct way, and Belial is both guardian and guide, because he is the Lord of the heights and the depths. That too many people, I saw something actually on your Facebook, and this is not personal, directed to the individual, because each to their own. What doesn't interest a person, then fine, it's freedom. You should not, if you're not interested, you should not be interested. But I saw something that was written, and it said, oh, Belial, oh, no thanks. And I thought, this is exactly why people need to understand more about this god, because too many people have it written off.
Yes. I saw that too. You know that I thought that it was a little bit it's onions for dinner, no thanks. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was so dismissing. So, well, if you don't want to watch, just don't say anything, just don't write anything, because it was really kind of it was like, really? I don't know. It sounded
weird. It served well. It's like anything, Carrigan. It's like some people love the work that I put forward, and some people follow a different path and they find that it's not for them. But it's good to have these other people there. And I'm not being magnanimous. I'm not rising above it. It's true. If everyone was, this is fantastic, this is amazing, and this is all for me, then great. Then what we've got is the Moonies. And we don't need that. We need spiritual freedom. But it did highlight the many misconceptions. Don't get me wrong. Anyone who works with the Dark Lord of the Sabbath, anyone who will go into the forest at night and call forth Belial in his hooded, black, horned form, will see what people understand as the devil, as the Christian devil, as the crown prince of this earth, as the Lord of this is fantastic. Belial is wonderful. He is amazing. There is so much to him that people don't understand. People do not understand him as the crown of Behemoth, the actual dragon, the living force, the dragon lines, what the New Agers would call the ley lines. That's its veins of fire through which the fire of the earth, the currents flow. Belial is the crown which rides Behemoth, which brings it forth. Belial, within his own body, are the 6 forgotten princes, which I won't go too deep into now, but they will be brought forth at a later date, and I will bring forth the knowledge of actually evoking them and bringing them into the soul, which is work that I've done. But Belial is so misunderstood. To the vast majority, he is at best a goetic demon, and at worst something that I find that when people write to me, they're okay with Lucifer, but they're still a little bit afraid of Belial because they don't know him, and part of this is what I'm trying to change. In the Atlantean depths, without Belial, you will just be seen as an opportunity, and you will be taken at the level of the soul as an opportunity, and you will not make it out of there. And what remains on this earth will become what is essentially a husk. I mean, you will walk around like a victim of zombification as your personality, your mind, and your soul energy. Much like in Malefica, if anyone out there has done this or even experienced it on a mild scale, if someone puts the bad hex on you, and I think people that have been around a while have all experienced through jealousy a little bit of it. They try to steal your vital energies and take a little bit of your power and try to tap at your knowledge and try to tap your creativity and things like that, and you can feel it. Well, if the Atlantean gods do that, they'll take everything, and then eventually the body will just shut down. Belial is the appointed guide. He is the ruler supreme of the Atlantean depths. From the point of view as he is the Lord of the heights and the depths, he's the guardian of that gateway, the guardian of that threshold. Now, this is very difficult to explain to people who perhaps, and there may be people out there that do this work that are going, yeah, no, I've always thought that, or I get it, slightly different name, but I get it. And there will be people that go, no, absolutely not, it's not for me. To explain it is difficult to people that haven't worked it, which is why I'm putting this work forward. They call it Gnosis because it's the knowing. When you work it and you do it and you walk through these gateways with these gods and these spirits, you know this, and that's the Gnosis and that's the knowing. So people will find the connection between Belial and Neptune, between Belial and Confronting. Okay, they will see the correlations, and the people who work this firsthand will see the many different aspects of Belial in this way, like people can find the correlations between Kali and Hecate and Tiamat and things like that. It's easier for them because those correlations have been around, they've been worked before. People are looking at this and have been looking at it for longer. People like yourself, people like Jade Soluna, people like that have a lot of experience in these areas. With Lucifer, people will always look at Lucifer and Lumiel, and then people will look at Set and things like that as a darker aspect, because people will, in evocation, that draconian head and the look of it. Okay? Then to this I would say, people, you will find by doing this work a lot of correlation between when you get past the demonic aspect, when you see Belial in his older aspects, you will see the links between Belial and Confronting, and you will see the links between Belial and Anubis. When you call Belial forth, and he comes forth in his older aspect, older even than his hooded aspect, and you see him as a dog-headed god, then it starts to bring the mosaic together to create a bigger picture. Belial is vast, and how vast he is, people just don't know. And I'm hoping to illuminate. I mean, you have this book there, Carrigan. It's the largest of the three books. It dwarfs even the Red King. It had to be that way because this is the finish of the Trident trilogy. This is the end, and now I'm beginning the fourth book, and I have the path now splits. There are so many tangential paths of knowledge that I have to bring forward that I now have to write a new set of volumes, 2 new sets of volumes. So I begin one this year.
Yes.
Book 1 of the next, let's call it a trilogy. I don't know if there will be 3 books or 2 books or 4 books in it.
Yes.
So let's call it so book 1 of the next trilogy,
series.
and then next
series.
Next series. Yes. And then next year I'm going to begin book 1 of the 3rd series and alternate the volumes as they come out, so that people can have this knowledge staggered, so they get it at the time that they need it. Otherwise, the path's going to zig too much when it should zig and zag a little bit. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
I need to try and I can't write 2 books at once, so I have to stagger them through the years. So that's why this book had to be so large to have this in. I had to take people with the Trident trilogy up to the final initiation of the soul, which is what this book does. Through the Atlantean realms, it gives an awful lot of knowledge and power. It opens the gateways of the soul, but it also opens the gateways within your personal universe, not just to you and the Atlantean universe, to you and the Atlantean gods. You have access to them, they have access to you. Hence the armament of Belial as the Scorpion god. It's a god form that must be undertaken to enter this realm. The Scorpion and the Scorpion god is the only form that will armor the soul sufficiently that it is not damaged as an opportunity in the Atlantean realm. So the astral travel, the opening of the gate, and this is very much within a circle of stones. The circle may be created. Excuse me. Sorry. The circle must be created, and the stones engraved to open what is essentially a vortex and a gateway. Now, my first circle, it's something it's all within the book, the knowledge within the book, to work with Belial in this way and to work with the Atlantean gods, and to bring forth what is essentially Belial's, let's call her his sister. She is, as Hecate and Lucifer stand as opposites, then Belial and Sephiroth stand as opposites. Sephiroth is queen of the Atlantean realm, and along with the Atlantean gods, due to her ferocity and her power, is very much separated from the universe of man. The encounters with Sephiroth are the making and the breaking moments beyond even those of her Atlantean kin. And within the creation of this vortex, within the creation of the circle of stones, and my initial ones were carved in wood, so that the work could be performed within an indoor temple, before I was led to what is now the forest temple that I have, and that's a completely, it's an even deeper and more powerful vortex, tapping the dragon lines.
Yes.
Then it leads the soul through these pathways. It is powered in blood and sexual fluids. Sexual magic and the sexual current is the energy which opens these gateways. Blood manifests the gateways, but the sexual power and the sexual fluids it reifies the energy. It opens and shines it through which the soul may travel and walk and travel through the Atlantean realm. Within the realm.
Let me ask you this: what is the essence of these fluids? And I'm talking about blood and sexual fluids. What is the essence of these fluids that permit that, in the case of the blood, to manifest the gates, and the other in the case of the sexual fluids to actually give you the like serve you as a vessel to go through? So, what is there that,
if you imagine the path that you've walked, or the path that's through, I would believe it would be a very high form of ceremonial magic if it's Master Nesta, yourself perhaps with Hecate, the path that you walk and that you connect, if you're working in sexual magic and you're working with that in possession, in evocation, but in perhaps what I think Chumley called it a transvocation, in evocation and invocation, in full thrashing possession, so that the entity and the god has full, unlimited, unrestricted access through your soul to the gates of your soul to your flesh. So they occupy flesh and soul. This is how I work with Sephiroth, Belial, Lucifer, and Hecate. They occupy the body within, in this instance, the circle of stones. Okay, having opened the gateways, having opened the heights and the depths of the ritual formula, having created the keys, and they empower your blood. An entity such as Hecate, a goddess, she ignites what is in your blood. She takes what is spiritual and she makes it manifest, and blood is the key to life and manifestation. So when you've got a god or a goddess, or Lucifer or Belial flowing through you, and you spill your blood at the height of possession through the correct ritual, then your blood will manifest what is carved into wood, what is carved into your ritual table, and it will open that gateway upon the material and through the inner planes, through the liminal spaces. And these gateways are then what opens through the inner planes to the astral, to the dark side of the tree, and also through the necessary and required ritual to the Atlantean inner planes. In the same way, I think everyone who practices sexual magic will agree that when you make love and you have an orgasm with your partner, yes, it's fantastic. Whether you're doing it alone with the god, or whether you're doing it with your partner as the goddess or god, and you as the goddess or god, then it's different. Even doing it alone, when you merge with the god, the inner orgasm, and when I think people will know what I talk about, the soul orgasm that rises up, as opposed to just wasted shooting out through the base chakra, okay, or the base energy center, if you don't want to talk Eastern tantric stuff. The inner orgasm and the higher orgasm, empowered in connection, when the goddess or the god or Lucifer touches your soul and enters your soul. Well, personally, my neighbors are very understanding with me. If I'm doing it in the house, they probably wonder what I'm up to. It makes one scream one's head off. You scream through this world, you scream through the inner planes, because this is not a human power. It's a divine or an infernal power, or it's the two conjoined. The heaven and hell conjoined through the gate of death, the gate of Darth, the gate of knowledge, and it ignites the soul. That which ignites the soul and ignites the flesh within ignites the sexual fluids, but the power that comes off you, that spins in that Widdershins vortex, that opens the gateways. The consecration of the sexual fluid mixed with the blood is bringing the two together. It's bringing heaven and hell together. That's kind of like the final key to the combination. But then, of course, the sexual act must continue. And as those who practice it will attest or agree with me, working with your goddess, whether it is Sephiroth, Babylon, Hecate, Lucifer as the god, or Belial, well, they can carry that human being beyond that which another human being can carry you in the sexual power, and therein lies the power to open these gateways, and your soul is out, but it's empowered by them, and in this case it's armored by Belial, and you're into the Atlantean realms, and you're traveling, and there you go to undertake the tests, and you're working in bilocation. So the small part of your brain, the tiny, by comparison to the huge soul energy, the tiny pinhead of your brain that works on automatic pilot, that continues the sexual act, be it with a partner, if you're working, and if you're both descending to the Atlantean realm, which is very advanced Atlantean magic, or alone, then you're on autopilot in the flesh, and your soul is traveling through these realms. And the gateways of all the energy centers, the eyes shut, the third eye open, and you're wormholing. And those who practice, those who don't do this, then when you go forward to this, you will get that. I would say it would be slightly more than aha moment from listening to this, but you'll understand what I mean. And those that practice it will know exactly what I'm talking about. You're wormholing, and you're wormholing. That's transdimensional travel, and that's the power. Please go ahead. Ask.
No. I just wanted to ask you because I want to really go through. It's an amazing, it's always amazing to have you.
Thank you. It's always great to be here.
Because we go on and on and on. Now, I really want to go through the books because,
Yes.
this book is, for people that don't know, it's comprised of several books. We have to go through them because I really want you to give a little bit of a teaser on each one, if you can. What are they for, and what are we doing with each one of them? It's just beautiful. There's 6 books in this book. Right, so and this is what we have to really. It looks, people, just for people that are looking at us and they're listening to us. This is no, he doesn't have a Facebook page yet, and I don't think he will.
No, he won't either. Give it up, Carrigan. You know I don't like Facebook.
No. It's Master Nestor. Master Nestor is asking you, does he have gotten a Facebook yet? No.
I'm sorry, Master Nestor. I am a real stick in the mud and a real die-hard man of my word. If you remember last time, Master Nestor, I made some rude comment about rather converting to Catholicism and being nailed upside down on a burning cross than taking on a Facebook page. I still feel that way, I'm afraid. I hope you understand my sense of humor. It's slightly tongue-in-cheek, but I do mean it.
So let's look at the Scorpion God, Forbidden Wisdom of Belial. Sometimes, this is very interesting because you're talking about, sometimes people are afraid of names because they have this image of ingrained into them about Belial, or that fellow that said that person that said, oh, Belial, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
You.
No, thank you. It's like, no, I will have heartburn. But it's just very strange that people have these preconceptions, and that's when I think, just strip out your garments. Get the luggage into, give the luggage away. You know what I mean? Because it really stops you from, these things. And sometimes it's just built up on this Christian kind of idea. Oh, it's blah blah blah, or this horrible thing. You know what I mean? And
do you know what it is, Carrigan? It's a lot of it's the Christian side of things.
It is.
And a lot of it is that there are things written in the Dead Sea Scrolls where perhaps you would have the darker aspects of Belial. Anyone who's ever done any kind of... Belial has aided me with malefic work in the past, and he can be blacker than the blackest night. He has that aspect to him. There is no doubt about it. If anyone's ever seen the dark aspect of Hecate, then then that's.
Oh, you don't want to go
there. Is no, you don't.
Yes.
Belial.
Belial
is primal.
Sorry. Yes.
He's primal and he's primordial. So Belial has a passion for sacrifice, live sacrifice. There is an aspect of Belial that I work with in that way. That is Belial, and to say for me to try and new age him or dilute him or whitewash him would be doing him a disservice. But does anyone respect the Native American Indians? I'm sure that most people in the United States and around the world do. They were great people, and those that are left are still a great people that practice. They have a powerful faith, and a lot of their faith is based in various aspects upon certain types of sacrifice, Hindu and things like that. So there is that element to him. There is that element to Hecate as well, for those that would perhaps be up in arms about it. There is a golden, shining aspect to Belial as well. I will openly state now that I don't just work with Belial at the level of the soul. I am permanently at soul level through rituals that some are in the Red King, but the more advanced ones are not. They're not even in Scorpion God. They're yet to be released, and they are small books within themselves. They are rituals where one spends a week or 2 weeks or a set period of time away from humanity in the forest alone with one's sacrifices. One must live with these creatures, and then you do this work, and it is the awakening of certain aspects of Belial that haven't been seen perhaps since, I don't know, the Templar times or even before. They are really ancient. They are really primordial. And Belial and I are conjoined at soul level. Kerrigan, you have a photograph that I gave to you that I did ask you not to put out there that shows Lucifer and Belial conjoined. It was taken by someone as we were talking. I could feel the possession, but unbeknownst to me it was physical manifestation where half of my face is gone, is it not? And it is replaced by the red flesh of Belial.
Okay, so you send me that photograph. For people that don't know, this is what happened. He sent me this photograph, all right? And he said, please don't divulge it. This is private, and just keep it to yourself. But I really wanted to show you this because it's really something that happened to me. And I looked at the time. Indigo, he said, you can share with Indigo. It's fine. So Indigo was here, and I just looked and said, he wants us to see this, so I want you, to see it with me at the same time so that we can actually talk about it. And we opened the photograph, and the photograph, it's basically a still of a camera shot. So you were talking through Skype with somebody.
Nice. I was talking to the artist.
Yes, to the artist. And it's... when I opened the photograph, I looked to the photograph with Indigo, and we literally were silent for 5 minutes. I don't know if it was 5-4 or whatever it was, but it was a long time looking at the photograph, because half of your face, it's basically a manifestation of the flesh.
It's Belial's,
it's just amazing.
And Lucifer's. It's a conjoining of the two.
It's absolutely amazing, and you can't believe it. You have to, to really kind of look at it to really believe it, because it's something that you wouldn't think that would happen. Well, you're possessed. But a manifestation in the flesh, that's amazing. I was silent.
My partner has worked with Belial. She works with Lucifer. She works with me on occasion. She is what you would call an administrator of the Forest Temple, from the point of view of when people come, as we've just begun to initiate to the current in the Forest Temple, the bearing of one's soul to take the initiation, the primal fire of the Atlantean current. For those that are going to come forward and are chosen to come forward for this, she works in that way with me. But Emilia is not keen on that look. She's seen the face of Hecate, she's seen the face of Lucifer in different aspects come through me, actual in flesh, in possession, and when we've been working together. But I think that was a little bit fleshy and a little bit real for her, that particular instance, because she just looked at it and she went, she said, her exact words were, "Me not like, okay?" And off she went, just left the room.
Oh, poor thing.
Belial can be very charming when he wants to be like that.
Yeah. But the thing is that I think that all of this, people get baggage, and they close themselves to these things. I mean, it's not the first time. I'm going to say this to you. There's a friend of mine, and he was very, very enthusiastic about your first book.
Yes.
And when I got it, I showed him, and he was like, "Oh, this is so wonderful! I love it! I'm going to get it." Da, 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 da. Second book came out. All right.
Yeah.
And
I know what you're going to say, but go on.
Hold on. Second book came out, and the Red King, and then I showed him also because you got the Red King, and oh, and I could see
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
began to get out of it, kind of like, I got enough on the first one, I don't want to go over. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
last book came out, and he said, I can't deal with it. I can't do it. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. And I said, but it's like a panic thing. It's a panic attack. And it's just
It's quite
so
a nice, honest
amazing.
reaction as well, though.
I know,
Yeah,
I know. So I just wanted to ask you, did you ever had this progression on people? Kind of like, okay, the first book is light, second book is really dense, and then the third book is kind of a knockout. You can't really deal with it. Did you have do you have this has happened to you, to people that buy your first and then they can't really, what happened?
No,
Did you
what
have
I
anything?
do find is that with some people, most people are quite sensible. Most 99% of the people that follow my work and that correspond with me are quite sensible. What they do is, bearing in mind that it's the way that I've been put forward by Hecate for this. You could say that obviously my soul belongs to Hecate. There are no ifs, buts, or maybes. I am forever conjoined at the level of the soul with Belial through the work that I have done. My soul, I would say she created it, but if you wanted to argue the point and she didn't, well, it certainly belongs to her now. And you know what? Nothing inside or outside of the universe of man, Atlantis, or the Void makes me happier. But Hecate, in me doing this work, she gave me to Lucifer and basically said, okay, because as you know, and an interesting chap, that gentleman who has got a very interesting blog, Richard Dirks, he pointed out in one of his blogs recently how Hecate steps back. She will step back and let other teachers come forward to take you. And the first time that this happens to someone, the Hecate devotee can panic a bit, and then she comes back again. And this has been the pattern of our working. So obviously Lucifer and I are very strongly conjoined anyway, but I've worked with Belial for a long time. But with the period of this work and the period of this book, it's almost like Hecate gave me to Belial and went, no, you stay with him now until this is finished. So it was working in between Belial and Sephiroth. So what I find with people is that they're not quite up to that speed, because obviously I'm being given this work and I'm working at quite a geometric pace because Hecate wants me to put it forward. The people that are taking this work on, they're quite sensible. Some of them, there is a lady who's doing this work. I'm not going to get into names. It's her private business. She is leaping at such a rate, but she is doing it with such dignity and such balance that there's absolutely no way she's going to turn into an egotistical maniac with the magic that she has and the power that she has. But she is really moving. And there are certain rituals that she's gone through that I don't think any others out there. And it's not a race. It's an evolution, which is important. So... And this is Hecate got a hold of this lady, or they had a connection, and Hecate pushed her. She was then receiving strong manifestations of Lucifer, pretty solid ones. But interestingly enough, quote unquote, I believe Belial's introduction was actually pushing her physically out of bed. I don't know the full ins and outs of it. But Belial at the moment, so this lady is working, but she's pacing herself and just entering perhaps the Red King now. So what I get is I don't get people veering away, but I get people that are perhaps a little way behind, but they're being sensible. That's because they're doing the work and they're not trying to leap to the end and go to the back. They're actually following this as a path. And as you know, for me, this has been a lifetime path. Woven in and out of the military and private security sector work, it's always been there. And so what I find is that obviously people are pacing themselves with the work. I don't get too many looking away. In actual fact, I've been very happy, and I'm sure that Belial, I feel he's happy.
Oh, yeah.
He did set his altar in my house on fire when I made a mistake with the book.
Oops.
4 foot high flames, I would like to add.
Oh my God.
Excuse me. I made a mistake with the book, and it was something with to digress slightly, with sigils. I thought they were correct. They weren't correct. And the fastest way to communicate with a human being, rather than wait till that human being comes forward in possession or take him over, is to really get their attention, is to do something like that. Because if something like that happens, you know something's wrong.
Oh yeah.
And so I have left on my fireplace, which he occupies as all of his altar, and it's a big old Victorian type fireplace. I have left the burn marks because he's now manifested the dog's head through these marks, and all sorts of facial manifestations that are there. I've left it. But as soon as the flames were put out, I came back into the other room. I heard the flames, and Amelia said, "It's the hieroglyphs, it's the sigils, it's all the sigils." And I didn't get the message, she did, and I went, "How do you know?" She went, "Because he just told me." And when we went back through it, we saw the mistake, and we corrected it. So he's very close to man, and he's very of the material plane, being the prince of this world. But what I find now is that people are writing to me, and Belial is approaching them, but he's not scaring the pants off them. He's approaching them, and he's approaching them with work and saying, "I've got work for you," which is, if people have followed my own history with the writings that I did initially through Scarlet Imprint, my own path with Belial, he turned up out of the blue, pre-evocation. My curiosity in Belial was sparked by Hecate and Lucifer, and I was drawn to him and driven to evoke him. And before I evoked him, I had manifestations and full possession and a takeover and a communion that, you know, some people would envy. It was fantastic, but very impromptu. So he's doing that with people now, perhaps a little bit more subtly. He's aware that people are wary of him, but Belial has a lot to teach people, and there's a lot to bring forward. And at the end of the day, for people who want to follow the path of Lucifer's flames into the Atlantean depths, you need him. He will protect you in that realm. It's kind of like, if you wanted to look at it this way, I don't necessarily agree with it. You need the blackest down there to protect you from that which is truly the blackest. You need that dark power. You need that thick, black, bloody scorpion armor around your soul. Okay, and you need that being who knows his way around there, who holds that power and that sway in there, because when you meet his counterpart, Sephiroth is an apocalyptic goddess. Sephiroth will become more prominent in the world of man now that the Grail of the Princess has been formed. To give a brief description, she is amorphous. She is beautiful in goddess form. She is draconian. If you see the 7 goddess heads on the dragon, Sephiroth holds the reins of the elemental reflections of the demon princes that are now riding across and beneath and through the planes of this world, that are the 4 horsemen. Sephiroth controls that. So when you meet her face to face in the Atlantean realm, that first meeting, it may seem slightly placid at first, depending on the reaction. Mine wasn't quite so placid. Sephiroth can be very placid or extremely spiritually violent. She's very, very aggressive, but also she will, when encounters with the other Atlantean gods, she will be there. She will be there in manifestation on the material plane within the circle, while your soul is traveling and wormholing, and she watches, and she's placid. She watches every soul's progress upon the path of flame in the Atlantean realms. When you come face to face with that dark goddess, Belial is the guardian that you need there to ensure that the meeting at least has some form of balance, and that you are not just seized as an opportunity. Sephiroth grants the final power in the Atlantean realm, but she is a seducer of souls in a very literal and almost Christian sense of the devil goddess way of looking at things. Yet pass her tests and she will become your greatest ally. So let's have a look at this.
Let's have a look at the book. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Allen Smith, the author of The Scorpion God, the 3rd book in the trilogy of the. It's just a fantastic thing, because we've been together since what? I mean, since your first book.
Yes, indeed.
You know, so Trident of Witchcraft, Forbidden Wisdom of Belial, The Scorpion God. And I really like, first of all, you know, let me just say this again. This is not a reading. This is an experience. All right? So when you open
it's the path walked.
Yes, so when you open it, and all of these sigils and everything, so it's just so beautiful. And then the book begins with the call of Belial, and it's this beautiful, beautiful call. And it goes on.
Would you like me to read it out?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay. Let me just see if my throat is relatively clear. The call of Belial. This is at the beginning of the book, and it's part invocation and part evocation, but it's also part explanation of Belial. And when you listen to this, you will understand that at the level of the soul at which I've worked with Belial, which hopefully should give some people the confidence to come forward and work with him more. And it shows a little bit of the honor and respect towards Belial and that which is returned by him as he protects the soul in the depths. At midnight I stand at the axis of worlds, where the paths of the dark-hooded Lord of the ancient craft cross in power and flame. The fires of Belial, Lord of the depths, flow from the devil's throne at the heart of the world, far below the realm of incarnate man. With the will and blessing of the Dark Queen, she who was first dragon of the void, from whose form was torn the King of Flames, who was Lightbearer of Gnosis in the awakening age. I open the seals of the ancients with the breath of the Father, the flames of Thaumiel's Lord. I ignite the way of fire beyond the gates of the primal paths. I call forth the Lord of Shadows, the King of Kings in Edom's land, he who is Prince of the world of man. For Belial is guide to the soul of the chosen witch-kin, who walks the path of Lucifer's flames. In the depths I call you to stand at my side. In the fires of the Atlantean setting sun, I am he who walks in Belial's stead. From the paths of the dragon, through the gates of my soul, we are forever merged. Through eternity's realms to the first throne of the gods, I shall walk in your honor. In love and devotion, I entrust my witch-flame soul upon this journey of gods to the Lord of the depths. For the dark Prince Belial shall, in Hecate's name, forever be my companion and guide along the path of Lucifer's flames. I call you to rise from beneath the shifting sands of time. I call you forth, Belial, through the gates, whose seals I open with blood, with pleasure of witch god and immortal soul conjoined. I commune with thee as I call you to come forth from the depths to open unto and within my witch flame soul the sacred paths between heaven and hell, without fear but with love, without greed but with honor. I open the gateways of mind, heart, flesh, and eternal soul. In the garden of night I stand here alone, to call forth the Lord Belial into the being of man, to unlock the greatest secrets of the destiny of gods and men, from the depths of your throne to the heart of my soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alan Smith. I can't even pronounce your name. Mark Alan Smith. The Call of Belial, and that was an excerpt of the book, The Scorpion King. It's just amazing. It really is. I mean, this is just an amazing. And then you have a fantastic, right after this, a fantastic sigil, and then after that you have a fantastic work of the artist. And is this that spider web that you talked about?
This is the Atlantean universe that you're looking at, Carrigan, and within it is the eye of Belial, which is the mark upon the throne of Belial at the heart. There are 11 Atlantean realms with the many paths that cross and conjoin. There is a 12th hidden realm, and that is the throne of Belial, and it is not manifest to the powerful soul that travels this realm until all 11 realms have been walked, and their gods and their powers and their tests encountered and surpassed. Yeah.
Now let's go. It's beautiful artwork. Let's go to the books and book one, the book of the Lord of the Heights and Depths.
The very first book after the introduction, which is basically the explanation of that I gave in one form or another of the Atlantean realm, and it fills in some of the gaps that were left perhaps at the latter part of the Red King about Atlantis. The Book of the Lord of the Heights and the Depths illuminates Belial as the guide of the sacred path that is ignited and opened from the thrones of Hecate through that of Lucifer and into the Atlantean realm, which is the depths, which was the first Eden, which is now Edom, okay, the dark, secluded realm, separated. Within this book of the Lord of the Heights and the Depths, this being, you could say, the first book of Belial, we have the creation of the keys, which are the keys to the gateway of Atlantis. And within this, the 8 keys, the 7 keys, which are the 4 keys of the 4 demon princes, and the 3 keys of the gods of the upper flames of the Trident. There are 4 gods of the Trident, 3 in the heights and 1 in the depths. The one in the depths being the hidden one, being Sephiran's. The 3 keys of the gods in the heights, combined with those of the demon princes, empower you. That makes the 7 keys. You become the 8th key, or the sword of Lucifer. This allows you to open your soul and the gateways to the Atlantean realm as such. You must take the oath of the witch god eternal. This is your pledge. The call of Belial is the opening of the book, and it is very much an invocation and evocation that should be performed as such before you delve into the book, if you plan to work the book, of course, as opposed to just reading it, which, some people will only want the book out of interest, and some will only just dying to get in there and want to work it. The oath of the witch god eternal is your pact, your pledge. It is your oath to the gods that they will open these gateways, and it is your commitment, because once you enter this, that's it. There is no turning back. At this stage, for the soul that has walked this path, there is no really turning back. For those that walk the paths of Queen of Hell and through the work of the Red King, they have the opportunity beyond this flesh to perhaps do something permanently stellar, or they have the opportunity to undertake these tests for a greater evolution. Make no mistake, this is the path of self-deification, not in the realm of getting wings and lightning bolts per se, but it is the alteration of the soul, because the rituals at the end of this book allow you to open the 4 gates of fire and the gate of creation. More about that later. The 4 gates of fire are illuminated within the book as such. What you've got is, in the first 2 books, you'll see the first gate of fire, which are the 9 stellar gates of the gods, the 1 stellar gate of Thoth, and the gateway of the kings of Edom. Through the Gates of Amenta, within the first book, this is the entry, it is the actual ritual opening, and what can be expected through the inner planes, and as the inner planes merge with the material plane, what one can see with the soul eyes, as an old friend of mine used to say, which some people would call the third eye, as you enter Atlantis. Through that you become empowered, the soul receives an empowering, and part of that is the mark of the Scorpion, which has both empowering and malefic connotations and implications. Your soul has then opened through this first work, the path of the heights and the depths, through these rituals to the Atlantean realm. This takes you to the second book, which is the Book of Forbidden Wisdom. The Book of Forbidden Wisdom, the actual Scorpion god bears the seal of the Book of Forbidden Wisdom. The Book of Forbidden Wisdom is a book within the Atlantean inner planes, and it is the Forbidden Wisdom of Belial. It is the book from which the Scorpion god, Forbidden Wisdom of Belial, is taken. Yet the Scorpion god is in no way the full gnosis of the Book of Forbidden Wisdom. The soul of one man alone cannot bring forth that, if you want to call it a grimoire, then we can call it that, that fountain or that well of gnosis and knowledge that some people would call an inner plane grimoire, just to keep it in sort of simple sort of terms, then one soul can't bring it forward. So those that enter this, you will enter another pact whereby you will receive access to this path, but you will also be asked to bring certain elements and aspects and rites and rituals and your own form of gnosis from the Book of Forbidden Wisdom, things that I have not got. I've gone beyond that. I've gone through that particular stage. I can still tap the Book of Forbidden Wisdom. You will be shown how to create a seal, a physical seal that will allow you to forever, in this incarnation, tap the Book of Forbidden Wisdom. But there will be certain elements that you'll be told, bring this back and bring it out and pass it forward. Now, people may do that in the form of their own written books. They may do that in the form of a blog. They may do that in the form through their coven, through their friends, through their own particular group, or only with their partner. But it's being brought forward to other people, and from that it will spread. The path of the soul through various rituals is then led deeper into the Atlantean realm until it encounters what is called the first altar of the witch gods. Now, this was a place that was, in the first race of man, somewhere in the Middle East. It is the place where Lucifer, as first father of men and gods, seeded the very first souls of man into the Atlantean inner planes, so that they could be born into the flesh and incarnate and begin the race of man. These first souls, this is the point in the Atlantean inner planes where Lucifer spilled what you would call his blood, his power to seed these souls in. If it had a geographical point in the world of man now, it would be perhaps in the lower section of the Middle East. Okay? And the first altar of the witch gods, it's where the second great crown of divinity is bestowed. When we say crowns, these are empowerments. They are crystalline energies that transform the soul. Yet even taking all three on is not enough to carry the soul to self-deification. That is something that is done in the final judgment. That is something that is done in the breath of Lucifer, in Lucifer's flames. But at this stage, at the first altar of the witch gods, you receive the crown of Lucifer. Having followed this path to the throne of Hecate, perhaps through Queen of Hell, for those who follow it faithfully, that is your first crown. This is your second great crown. He or she who walks past this point and succeeds is given the keys within the soul to enter below what is essentially the first layer of the Atlantean realm, which is the desert of Arcos. Arcos being the first lord of death, from which biblical derivatives will take Cain or whoever. A black rose by any other name, people. In Atlantean scripture, it is Arcos, the first lord of death. Arcos rules over as we know that there are towers, pillars, pylons of power in each of the realms, the day side, the night side. There is a very dark black tower in the Atlantean realm at the center. It's not a tower per se. I've had it illustrated as a tower. It's more of a pyramidal pylon or beacon. It contains all of the black, heinous, bloody, raping, disgusting, genocidal, murderous, black magical acts of the Atlantean race, but it contains all of their history and all of their power as well. It is seductive and it is magnetic, but it must be encountered before you can go further. It is the first of the tests, and he or she who can encounter and surpass it can ensorcel its energy. Like all pylons of power, like Lucifer's upon the dark tree, it draws the soul close, and there is an illustration of that in there that shows what can happen. It manifests and transmits and reifies the power of the temples, the 11 temples of the Atlantean gods and the 12th hidden temple of Belial, which lie below it. So this is the realm of Arcos, the first lord of death. The tower sits at the center of it, at the heart of the Atlantean universe, below the desert of Arcos, which is a barren, desolate area of the Atlantean inner plains, is the path below the desert of Arcos that the soul must enter to enter the temples, to get into the temples, to undertake the test. The temples of the Atlantean gods do not lie on the first layer. It's like if you were put it in reverse and you're going through if you want to use the tree as a map, or the astral plane sort of being the first layer of the astral plane before you go higher into the mental planes, etc., etc. Then going down, the Desert of Arcos will be the first layer of the Atlantean inner planes that you encounter. The Atlantean inner planes must be realigned to the soul and the soul unto them. So there is a ritual, the six-rayed Atlantean star. This is a very powerful ritual because it, in microcosm, changes some of the programming and the pathways of energy within the soul and creates the six-rayed Atlantean star, which is connected to the crown of Lucifer, the second great crown, within the soul. It also realigns the Atlantean inner planes macrocosmically to your soul individually. Therefore, it opens the gateways of the Atlantean universe in full to your personal universe. And, as my partner will attest, to the universe around you, because she's had encounters and she does not work the Atlantean current. She does not descend into Atlantis, but she's had encounters with the Atlantean gods where they've come forward just to make connection, Kerrigan. You understand? But when they touch the soul, it can feel like your flesh being burned. And when they grab you, for anyone who's ever been grabbed by a goetic entity, when they grab you and they shake you because they want to work with you, and at first encounter it's pretty scary. It's like that, but it's a little bit more searing on the flesh. So this is the returning of the Atlantean current, because it's not strictly confined to your personal universe. As a side point, the Atlantean six-rayed star, when opened by the incarnate watchers, of which Lucifer was one at the Atlantean times, is the stellar six-rayed star of destruction, which brought forth the currents seeded into the earth, which created the currents and the cataclysmic changes, the climate and the tectonic shifts and the waves. Going through this, you are now fully into the path of flame and upon the path of the Atlantean, the 11 Atlantean temples, which takes you into the Book of Atlantean Fire, which is Book 3. And here you have your first true introduction to the children of Lucifer beyond their masks. Their masks are the kings of Edom. They are walls and masks through which you may taste a microscopic amount of the Atlantean current for those who have worked through the Red King. Well, this is them unmasked in their full amorphous, skeletal, tentacle, fanged, clawed form. They have many manifestations, and for people that evoke these gods, they are vicious, they are brutal, they have unlimited power to give. They are part of the original soul path of man, which is why they are part of the self-deification process, because it is the readjustment of the soul beyond the abyss to what an Atlantean soul was, which is the ability to assume unlimited power to continue the work of the gods. But as such, they are the blood and guts of gods. They are, in a word, primal. There's no other way to describe them. And hence you have my description of, they will take the most vile and disgusting things and turn them into your greatest pleasures. You've got to face that, and you've got to stop not be corrupted by it. Within this, there's the description of the circle of stones and its creation, and a greater descent through it, its formation, and of course the fourth gate of fire. So you have now, through this work, the third and fourth gates of fire. The four gates of fire are the gates of Hecate, Lucifer, Sephiroth and Belial. They are the gates of the four demon princes. They are the gates through which the energies of the four horsemen travel as the elemental reflections of the demon princes. The fourth gate of fire, they are gates carved upon and within the soul, and through which the soul will travel. They are an extremely powerful formula. You create the four gates in blood and in fluids, and in doing so, carving them upon the material world of man, you open these gateways through the inner planes. Within the circle of stone, combined with all of these rituals, allows your soul to travel through this. You face the Tower of Arcos, and through these towers you will be given various different, there are benefits and there are maleficas. It's how you apply these things, and various different energies and abilities and transmutations that are given to the soul that prepare you for the final initiation, the final judgment of the soul. Then we have the actual facing of the gods, which is the Book of the Lost Temples of the Black Flame. Now, please bear in mind that I am at very most detailed, just glossing over these here to give you a hint and a taste of what is in them, because this book is it's very large and it's incredibly in depth. So I'm giving you subject titles, guys, basically just to try and give you a hint of what's in here. The fourth book as the direct encounters. Okay, so the blood of the gods actually explains what the encounters with the Atlantean gods will do, because each encounter with each Atlantean god leaves a piece of that being within your soul, which is why to undertake this you must succeed against the corruption. You must succeed against the corruption of the soul, because otherwise it will take the mind and the heart and the flesh with it, and the body will follow. They leave an encounter with the Atlanteans in evocation, in possession, because this is heavy, feral possession work on the material plane, and it is a complete merging. There is no other way to do this within the Atlantean realms with these gods. So the blood of the gods explains that. You then have the path of the red snake, which is the first of the Atlantean gods. Now this is the being that I first encountered doing the Phoenix Rite, post-Phoenix Rite, that is in Queen of Hell, because it is what I would call, doing the Phoenix Rite is shattering the Amber Gate. This being can come forward. I didn't know at that time what the entity was, having done the Phoenix Rite, and if you read Queen of Hell, you'll see I don't know what it is. I know what he is, I don't know who he is, let's put it that way. And my encounters with him, I say him, they are they can be male or female, much as Lucifer can if he so chooses. The encounters with this entity are completely tangential to anything that you would encounter working with the witch gods, who are more accustomed to the soul and flesh of man. But these beings, despite being the blood and guts of gods, despite being primordial and primal, they are extremely intelligent, and they are aware of everything that goes on through the inner planes and through this universe. So let's just say he knew we were going to be working together long before I did. This entity is brutal upon first encounter. They are all brutal upon first encounter. I will read his very first words to me out. They are rather dramatic. They are as they were spoken to me in possession and in evocation. This is Lomos. I am the darkness and the terror. I am that which rises from the depths to claim the soul of the phoenix. The lightning in this realm flashes black. Merge with me or be devoured. Now, Lomos is pretty terrifying. He's also... They all attack. In evocation, they will all attack. It's a sustained attack, and the only way to describe it is that this is... As Lucifer might enter your body and seduce you, because he's very good at that, or Hecate, even Belial, and merge with you in possession that way. They may grip you or they may seduce you. I've worked with them all in both ways. The Atlantean gods will not do that. They will grip you and they will attack, and it is a sustained attack. That is their nature. It is their merging, and you just have to go with it and merge with them. It is an extremely vicious and brutal psychic attack that's bordering on the physical. It's so intense. Once you've merged with them, it's an acceptance of their power. You can't defeat them, you cannot hide in denial, and trying to put your great witches or magicians' will against them is only going to get you spiritually damaged.
Yes.
Hold your will, but merge with them is the only way I can describe it. And beyond that, words don't come other than what's in the book, which is my best to describe my own experiences. The path has to be walked. However, I'm going to focus on Lomos a little bit more than the others, because there are a few things here that I want people to understand. Why do you want to walk in this realm? Why? Okay, self-deification is a term that's bandied around, and half the time it's a false term to lure people into pathways or parting with their money to purchase books, etc., etc. A genuine path of self-deification is a vicious path to walk, or certainly a long and trying path if it's not vicious, depending on the pantheon and the gods that you're working with. Here is something that I'm going to impart with now that's not in the book, so I'm just going to close the Scorpion God for a second there. Lomos is the Lord of the Time Veils. the 9 veils of time. Within the veils of time, I'm going to give a little hint now. When you've passed through these, beyond the final judgment, you are expected to immediately, as you can within your incarnate life, return as a student of Sephiroth, who is the apocalyptic goddess, who is the queen of this realm, to walk back as a self-deified soul. Because once you've passed these tests, should you make it, and a few will, and perhaps many won't, they will fall in corruption. You can fall in here. If you fall in here, then I'm afraid that's it. This is not the New Age. It's not the dolphins and crystals Atlantis that we saw as children in TV and things. If you fall here, you're finished. It's as simple as that. It's not an attended course, and I can't explain it any other way. Nothing that is worth having comes easy, and it's not without risk. If you consider the risk worth it, then please, Belial is there to aid you, and I'm here having walked this path to aid as best I can. But this is something that I will not follow. This is something that I will not do, but it's the reason that I'm putting this work out on the bigger picture, beyond my own path and my own desire for knowledge and power, which, if I'm honest, is a lot of the driving force, apart from my absolute loyalty to Hecate at the level of soul, even beyond this flesh. The 9 veils of time. I know people speak of entering the veils of time. I know that there are ambiguous things alluded to. Beyond the Scorpion God, I've given the 9 veils of time in here. Beyond this work, when I release the second set of volumes, the second series, okay, they are the keys of Sephiroth. Okay, the keys of Sephiroth, the first book of the keys of Sephiroth, I will give the ritual formula for opening, traversing, and entering the veils of time. Now, I get very passionate at this point, because if you listen to certain people who talk about the crisis in the world, and I'm not normally one of them, but they're hitting about starvation, they're hitting about greed, they're hitting about peak oil, is something that comes up a lot, isn't it? And things like that, okay? Well, within the veils of time, within the Atlantean realm is the realm that gods go to learn. It's the realm that even gods don't stop learning. They watch man learns from them, they learn from man, despite perhaps, and it's a paradox, outside of the universe there's no circulating colors of Hecate, there's no time veil, so it's chaos. So you could say, well they know all, but there is a balance of always learning. Through the veils of time, you can walk through the different dynasties of this realm and this earth. Fine, that's kind of a foregone conclusion. You can walk through the other universes. It's a different way of entering the other of the 9 universes of the void. Okay, some of them being what people would call eternal realms, as opposed to, say, the stellar mirror of Lucifer given in the Red King. The veils of time have access to what can only be described as pyramids. They are pyramids, and within each veil, within, I think it's the 5th veil of time, there are pyramids where spiritual forms are created, where evolution is adjusted. This is the true power of the gods. This is why I get passionate about this, because we all talk about magic, we talk about making change. This is so vast, and I'm working this knowledge and putting it out as fast as I can, despite the efforts of an egotistical few who try to work against me. More about that later if we've got time, which I think is down to I'm putting the knowledge out and they're irritated because they're not. They need to speak to their own deities and their own gods about that, and put forth knowledge. We should all be working together. But this knowledge, as I'm putting out as fast as I can, what I've experienced, what I've seen in the veils of time, traversing at soul level through trans-dimensional travel, within these pyramids, there is the ability to adjust the spiritual and physical makeup of beings. It's going to take someone who devotes themselves to that particular realm within that particular veil of time for that particular incarnation, but someone who has the spiritual ability but the mind of a scientist. Within these realms there is the ability to reintroduce into the physical gene pool the spirits of which is extinct, animals which are gone. Their spiritual DNA is held in pyramids in these places. Okay, the ability, now this is a power that you wouldn't want modern governments getting their hands on, but then again, they are so shut down and money and greed driven, okay, that they don't get this. It's a certain type of person that gets this. The ability for people in decades or even centuries to come who will take this knowledge that was lost, knowledge that's only being brought back now by people like myself and other people that are working through the inner planes. What if you could adjust the breeding patterns of wheat, Carrigan? Okay, what if you could adjust these things? Different plants, different food sources. Okay, what kind of starvation problems could you cure? Okay, what kind of animals and species of things? You could create absolute disaster, or you could cure the world's food shortage. Now, I know how that sounds, but I can tell you now, for those that will enter these realms and who will see these things, this is the deeper stuff. This is beyond the barriers I keep banging on about, going through the grimoires and about going through the books and driving at it as hard as you can. And within this work, yeah, there is the possibility to lose your soul. There is the possibility to fall in corruption. But to take that chance, to take that risk, to be able to bring something like this back, is it not worth it? If you burn, you burn. If you succeed, you succeed.
Yeah. Well, you have to invest. You have to invest. If you're going to leap, you have to leap. You can't really have a rope around you. You know what I mean?
That's my
There's
big
no net.
soapbox foot stomping session done now.
There is no net. Yeah. There's no net to catch you. So you better, if you're going to leap.
That's
just
just
it.
a taste. That's a taste of what's in there. There's so much more within the time veils. That's the first realm. In the second temple, you will meet Ranok, who I will go very briefly into. Ranok rules the 7 hells. It's the 7 heavens and the 7 hells. The Ranok rituals I found were incredibly powerful. The third realm is the realm of death within the Atlantean realm. When I performed that ritual, there was an explosion of different types of violence around my material surrounding plane. From the little things, although they're not so little, like the death energy is incredibly powerful in the Atlantean realm, straight through, and 3 of my own cat's kittens were decapitated by an unknown creature, being something that came in from the garden. I don't know, but it was right after the ritual. There were 3 dead kittens and their heads were gone. Okay, there was some violence outside the house, various things, and a small animal was killed. I don't want to go into detail on this. So again, the reflections of this energy can be immediate and can be very black and very powerful, and it was just something that had to be worked through at the time. But then again, if you're entering a realm of death within the 7 hells, you're not expecting petals and angels.
Yes, roses falling from the sky. Yes.
Beyond that, you have the temple of the Pathfinder god, which is a temple of a god called Allah, not Allah, Allah. Okay, and he grants an ability to open many pathways, to open many gateways, and he shows that which is hidden even on the Atlantean map as such. And Allah is extremely powerful. He gives gateways to the hidden throne of Belial. Having explored some of those gateways, yet not all of them, because this work is so vast, there is a literal serpent in there, a huge entity in there that is glimpsed through working these paths. Beyond that is an entity called Muman, and Muman is the source of all the Ophidian current, the first Ophidian god. Muman can manifest as a gigantic serpent. He can be seen as the manifestation of an amorphous mass or a huge warrior god. Muman is interesting. He is kind of a co-worker, very closely bonded with Sephirans. Muman can make you do things if you're not very astute and on the ball with your ritual work, and he can also make them think that they're entirely your own idea. So, but he brings a lot of Ophidian power, and the source of the serpentine Ophidian power can be found in Muman's realm. You will then find the first Lord of Death beyond that, which is Arcos, and his realm. Garadasan, the Lord of Atlantean Witchcraft. And then we go further into exploring the Architect of the God Soul, which is, well, to all intents and purposes, a female entity, and she gives in her realm, is a realm that appears to be standing stones. In short, they are the configuration, when fused together, of the formation or makeup of the DNA of the bodies of gods. So by replicating these in ritual through certain steles and things that I explain within the book how to make, and I will go into greater detail in the Keys of Sephiroth that follow. There are about 3 volumes of that to come. Then one can merge with these powers in that way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are catacombs of draconian entities. There are gateways of what would call the Reaper of Souls, gateways through which gods pass when it is time to perhaps bring a new aeon or initiate an evolutionary soul leap. And what the gateways that empower these eternal beings to enter a certain realm, our world, our inner planes, to initiate that. But again, I'm glossing over it. This is very, very deep, in-depth stuff, because the Atlantean realm is very deep. It is the culmination of all of my personal work so far. At the end of it, through the different, I won't go through all of the chapters of all of the gods. You will meet Sephiroth, who is the Atlantean Queen, or the Atlantean Devil Queen, if you wish to put her that way. She's a fantastic goddess to work with once you have, in her eyes, succeeded. Once you've met her expectations, then you have succeeded within that, and you will receive acceptance by Sephiroth. If not, well then, let me just explain my first encounter with Sephiroth. If you fall, you burn forever. If you rise, you will know me in eternity. You will illuminate the path of flames for others who walk in your stead. Sephiroth is fantastic. The book itself and the path and the transition of the soul through the 4 gates of fire, having been ignited by the Atlantean gods, transforms the soul. It basically gives the formula of the completion of what people would call the Shin, being the fire spirit or the fire tongue, which is the spirit of man. There is an element of that. The Shin is the Trident, represented by Belial, Lucifer and Hecate, that is held from the universe of man. That element is represented by Sephiroth, and it is held separate in the Atlantean realm. For the soul who transgresses these gateways and undertakes this transmutation, that element, that 4th flame, that 4th point of the Trident, is empowered within the soul, and therein lies another key or clue to the self-deification and empowerment of the soul. Beyond that, we have the 5th book, which is the Book of the Dead. I won't go into too much detail with the Book of the Dead. Suffice to say, it is a grimoire or a fountain or well of Gnosis within itself. The Book of the Dead is primarily Malefica. It is very necessary that it is brought through for the balance of the deification and the energy, because the balance of the fire energy and the darker energy must be met, or Empyrean and Infernal if we're working in this side of the universe. The Book of the Dead also brings Gnosis of fire spirits, Atlantean priests and people who have fallen or walked willingly from the path. And it's interesting because you have entities that have walked from body to body since the first race, since time immemorial, since the first race of man, and they are, in some legends, they are the jinn, not necessarily the Goetia, but they are jinn spirits, they are fire spirits. These beings are capable of displacing the soul of an unwitting magician or follower, as are very powerful Atlantean priests who have walked from the path of Lucifer and undertaken only the path of pleasure of the flesh and the eternal path of desire and pleasure to remain forever incarnate of the flesh. They are capable of displacing a being from its body and taking over that form. There is the Gnosis, the Malefica, of actually ensorceling them to do that. But please bear in mind that while the book and this energy and this path gives you the Gnosis and the power to do that, one of the reasons that it's in here is that these beings exist. It also gives you the power to prevent that. So everything has a flipped side. The 6th book is the book of the final initiation of the soul, and this is the casting out of the soul from the body, from the universe of man, and from the Atlantean universe, and it's cast out into the void, and it's cast out in the final judgment of Lucifer's flames. This is the culmination of the self-deification of the soul through the 4 gates of fire and through the gate of creation. And I won't speak about the formula of that on the radio. People can source it through the work and through the rituals and through the book. The gate of creation, if you imagine what you could call a gateway of that through which spirit or entity is created. If you were granted the formula, which is truly the power of the gods, to in microcosm reverse that, then you would be given the formula to alter the structure, DNA for want of a better term, the structure of the soul with the correct empowerments, having walked the path fully with the blood of the gods, the Atlantean gods, through the 4 gates of fire, and reversing with the power and the hand of Lucifer and that of Belial, with the assistance of all 4 gods, the gate of creation, and casting yourself out. And it is very much, when you read the words, you are doing this in your free will, and there are no guarantees. Hence, if you are judged unworthy, if you fall, you burn forever. If you don't fall, then you rise anew. Okay, and that is the path of self-deification. And what it does is it empowers the spirit and the soul, and allows he or she who has walked this to come back and then be given gateways of deeper work and more work, because the soul is more powerful. It can accept more, it can bring more back. And these 3 books, ladies and gentlemen, they are the tip of the iceberg. And I don't say that lightly, because bringing forth the knowledge of this 3rd book and writing this 3rd book absolutely exhausted me. Even just the writing of it, and to get it right, and it had to be right. And even the binding of the book, I sent the book back once because the quality had to be right. Everything had to be perfect. It's been an honor, but especially this 3rd book, with, when you're writing and you're ensorceling things in, it's very, very powerful, writing in possession with Belial and the other gods, and weaving it into the book. They really are the tip of the iceberg. If Queen of Hell was the open gateway to entice you to walk this path, and the Red King gives you the keys, then the Scorpion God opens the gates to self-deification at the end of that path. And not everyone will complete this who follows this in this lifetime. They are books of leaping. They are transmutation through the leaping of the soul. It's not the natural order, which is sometimes why the perceived natural order, which is not necessarily the true natural order, but the collective thought, gives us so much opposition when trying to bring these books forward. Then these books themselves, the 3rd book, it gives the ability now to taste, and I'm going to use a cliche, but I'm going to use it wholeheartedly, to bring back the knowledge and the power of what people would call legend. Okay, the rituals that you get, it's all the things that you thought weren't real, even as practicing magicians, that are. And I can only say that I look forward to bringing this through to people and sharing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Allen Smith. This is amazing, Mark. I was just kind of listening. There are people who are saying, the Gnosis that are coming through is just in this interview is so heavy that I have to listen to it a few times over the next few weeks, someone said in the chat room. And it's true.
Absolutely.
It's true. The book is absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen, and I do think that these 3 books will make history in the occult world.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh well, you just made it. So you know, this one is the one that closes this door and opens the other one. So we have more to look for.
There's so much more work, Carrigan. I mean, the work now has begun last year at the Forest Temple. I've begun the first initiations and beyond that, empowerings by people that were sent to me. Excuse me. Where people are opening reservoirs of power. They're opening gateways and connecting them through the dragon lines to, if you wanted to call the temple here the Mother Temple, but that kind of makes it sound a bit grandiose and superior to this temple. These belong to Hecate, they belong to Lucifer, they belong to Belial, and they connect in the depths, and also belong to Sephiroth, who was very much rising within the aeon of Lucifer. She is carved from the flesh of Lucifer. You could call her the daughter of Hecate and Lucifer, the sister of Belial. These temples, they belong to them, but there are pillars of fire, 4 specifically, that spread out from the center temple. One has already been opened. They are, I have to say that they are a certain type of special person that comes to open the pillars of fire. There is another person coming shortly to open another pillar of fire, and they are opened across water from this one. On the materially, as above, so below, for a coined expression, they have to be across water from this particular, or at a distance from this particular temple. So one has already been opened, and then there is work to be done in Eastern Europe. There is work to be done elsewhere, and also there are names to be entered within the Book of Hecate that is being formed currently. A very talented gentleman. I was given a seal and given some instructions to form this book. It has about 10 different names. One of the grandiose names is the Book of Souls. It's the Book of the Temple. It's Hecate's book. It's not my book. It's something entrusted to me, and when it's time for me to go home, when it's time for me to die, then it will be trusted to another. I'm not sure who that is. It will be somebody a lot younger than me. But when I received the instruction, I was like, Mother of Lucifer, how am I supposed to form this, even financially, the actual seal to go on the front of it? And within 2 days, this guy turned up and started writing to me, telling me he had this ability to create these things. And in short, he's spent an awful lot of money and had this seal. The seal itself was 1.4 kilograms formed, and I'm not going to go into too much more detail across the radio for this book, and absolutely refused any assistance, payment or anything for it. So all I can do is send the guy some leather editions to say thank you, and now he's disappeared back into thin air, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, we have contact, but he's very busy with his own world and his own work. So Mr. ER, shall we call him, Edward, thank you, if he happens to listen to this. And then there's the work of initiations, select initiations that will come, certain types of people that will be brought forward to this, and it's going to be built as it goes, this work with Hecate. And again, that temple will stand long after I'm gone. I already know that. I found it where it is, and it's like, it's quite classic and secluded and hidden, and on a slope that you just wouldn't think that you could actually do anything on. But this, I was told, you will construct a temple for me. This was in deep possession, and of course I thought, yes, no problem. This is fantastic. It's all part of this work. It's through where the work of the Scorpion God and everything else has been worked through and come through. And so I went to look for it, and actually, I've got to be honest, it wasn't shining lights and singing angels or demons or forest spirits. I got to a stage where I sat down and had a sandwich, and I thought, what the F am I doing up here? I can't find, how am I supposed to find anything here? And I had a moment. I don't want to use the word epiphany, it's too Christian. A moment where I just thought, do you know what's that down there? That doesn't even look like it's on a slope. And off I went, and there it was. It's a sunken circle in the ground, and there are many other things to it excuse me, that I won't go into. But suffice to say, that began the Gnosis and the formation and the elementals and the entities, from forest spirits to Atlantean elementals that were just waiting to rise up and assist. They were already waiting for me, and so again the further Gnosis goes from there. And that's, I just wanted to touch on that very briefly to
that's great.
explain to people, because, well, it's obviously, like I say, I've got people coming. People are starting to come now, and you know, not everyone will be brought here. That's betwixt them and the gods. With, I guess I'm a kind of sieve or filter, but keeping mine own ego and any personal feelings out of it, the right people will be drawn, and the right people will be accepted, and the right people will come. And this began, only the meeting of people only began last summer, because I'm not someone that gets out and about to meet people. I'm not someone that goes, I don't travel too much as such, because I'm so busy with the ritual work and the path and the writing. If I alter that too much, then the Gnosis that I'm putting out will drop off. So finding the balance is the temple here and the work that's put forward from here. And it's very much, as I've always said, it's a labour of love, even in the arms of exhaustion, with Belial standing me up. And when I was writing this book, there were days that he was sitting me up, and I was so tired in possession with him that obviously my own will sort of slid off, you know, as it does with exhaustion, that I was more Belial than I was Mark. It's just that fortunately the respect and understanding is that Belial will step back, and does step back despite our conjoining at soul level at the end of the day, to allow me to be Mark again when the writing is finished, so that I can go and be with my family and, you know, be normal. Watch a DVD. I watch DVDs. I drink beer. I have to have that material balance,
Yes,
or
yes,
I would.
Yes.
I don't know. I think I would be heavily medicated otherwise.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Cullen Smith, the author of the Trident of Witchcraft, the Queen of Hell, Red King, and the Scorpion God, Forbidden Wisdom of Belial. Now, this is the last book of the series of these three books. Forbidden Wisdom of Belial, the Scorpion God, Trident of Witchcraft. Now, there is a second series coming up, which is, we hope that it's...
Indeed.
Maybe 3 books, maybe 4, we don't know. Because this is a work of possession. This is a work of direct channeling. This is a work that it's not a work of a normal writer or author. This is an open channel. So, yes, we can make arrangements for the first book. We don't know how many are following that one, so we'll just hope that it will be, you know, we never know. So, Mark, thank you so much for being on Witch Talk, and
thank
to
you for
share
having me.
your Gnosis with us, and everything that you did for us. And it's wonderful, because I'm seeing more and more people who really are fascinated by your work, and it's marvelous. We need you. We need you very, very much.
It's a pleasure to be able to share it, and I always thank you for the opportunity to be able to share it, and for the people that come. You know, there are actually people that try to work against me a little bit. I can feel them, but they kind of bounce off, which is that's Belial. And if I could just send them a little message, can I just explain to the two of you, because I know who you are. Your friends the Gosha are also our friends the Gosha. As with the spirits of the lower, please do your work and let us do ours, and stop trying to pull at my ankle socks, because it's mildly distracting, and we are all kind of working in the same direction. It doesn't matter who puts the work forward. What matters is that the will of the gods is put forward. And as experienced magicians, I would have thought that both of you would have known better. Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
They know who they are.
Very good. So thank you so much, Mark, again for being on.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone on the chat room. We have 22 people listening to you right now.
Wow.
And I'm sure that this will be one of the most watched Ustream TV channel ever because of this contribution of yours. There's a lot of people interested in this, and it's just a pleasure to have you. And everyone is saying thank you. This was amazing. Thank you so much. So
well, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mark. Don't go anywhere. I will be right with you in a minute. All right. Thank you so much for being on Witch Talk. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is the end of this show, but next week we will be back with more Witch Talk. Thank you so much for watching us with us all these years and time. Thank you so much. Come back next week. We'll have more Witch Talk for you. Until then, have a wonderful week. Bye bye.